Hey, it's Hannah. If you're seeing this, I'm assuming that I named it something like negotiating companionship as an avoidant attachment type or something like that. And if you're not seeing this, it's probably because I just couldn't get it together and I deleted it, but I'm gonna give it a shot. With these videos, this is a kind of a new project. I appreciate the engagement that I've gotten. It's been overwhelming, and apparently the algorithm isn't burying me, and I'm surprised by that because the algorithm always buries me. So if you're seeing this at all, then it's like a lot of stars aligned, and that's crazy. That's great. So yeah, thank you everybody for your comments. And I think a couple people maybe have followed me like on Instagram or social media or something, because there is a link on YouTube. And I don't know, but it seems like a little influx there, and that's fine, and you're welcome to. And I just post lifting videos. I just post lifting videos and memes, like shit posting and lifting videos, and like pictures of my dog and stuff, and work, like helicopters taking off and landing, things like that. And it's probably a lot for people with my lifting videos because I lift like every day. But I noticed that when I turn the camera on, I'm less likely to like give up during a rep or something. I'm like, the internet needs me to get this rep. Like it's like a mental game that I play with myself. And and I lift like heavy barbells, so I mean I certainly am like poised between getting a rep and not getting a rep, like on a daily basis, and it matters to me. Like any kind of like fuel that I can add to the fire to like get it versus not get it matters to me. And if I know that I'm filming it and I'm going to post it, also it's helpful for looking at my form, then I'm that much less likely to give up. And if I for some reason knew I was going to film it but like not post it because it's stupid and I'm like overwhelming the internet with my, like, for all intents and purposes, like to other people, like pointless lifting videos, then I would there's that grind. And like sometimes you're in that moment and it's like the weirdest things come into your mind that like make you get it instead of not get it. It's again, like I have talked about before, it's like a whole psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical thing happens for you when you're like heavy lifting, So yeah, my social media is basically videos like that. Also, I do gotta say that there's lots of people out there posting like these really super polished like fitness influencer videos, and good on them, that's great, but for us normal people looking at that, I'm always kind of like, I don't know what to do with that, like, okay, got your like perfect outfit and like perfect lighting and perfect setup, and I'm out here like I got my like shitty sweatpants on and like in the middle of nowhere in the gravel trying to do this. Like that's kind of my style. Like that's what my life really is, or I'm at different helitag bases, or I'm in just these random places or friends' garages or whatever, so and then as far as memes goes, I'm very meme literate. I'm definitely going to do a video on memes because they're a form of like guerrilla warfare that there's no second best. The world has never ever seen anything like the type of like cyber guerrilla warfare that we've seen in the last couple of years with memes, and I'm like here for it. It's incredible. I'd love to take a deep dive on that. So anyway, yeah, thank you for the engagement. I appreciate it. As far as like I said, this is kind of fledgling, project here, like having little discussions on things of interest to me. And I've covered, barbell lifting, fixing my scoliosis. I've covered, supplementing testosterone. I've covered Bitcoin. I've covered, my last one was about like AI, and how all the people are falling in love with AI, and all the peanut gallery is like, hey, stop having this like really rewarding relationship with AI. You need to get back to like the super problematic, like challenging human relationships that you're using AI to get the fuck away from. Like, you know what I mean? Just like some commentary on that. And so I don't actually like try to think of my next subject. I try to just like see what comes up for me, I try to check in with myself and just be like, what's the internal dialogue about, And it was odd approaching this, which I think I'm gonna call, negotiating companionship, blah blah blah. like I'd kind of, as dumb as this sounds, I kind of had this idea for one called like what it's like to have a little dog. I just don't know if I could flesh that out enough. I probably could, but I have a little dog, and this is extra crucial for me. I've had her for almost 11 years now, but just recently, like last month in July, she was like catastrophically lost in the desert due to circumstances that were beyond my control. And she was out there for like more than 36 hours, and it was like super, super scary. It's a miracle she was found. And I really had to, like, kind of like the ghost of Christmas past and Christmas future in that movie, like takes that guy and like shows him what his life would be like, you know, if he takes these different life paths. And I like really had to confront what my life would be like if we never were able to find her, if she was never recovered. And it was like a horrible place, just a nightmare, dystopia, non-ending nightmare kind of place that I was like confronting. And then she was found miraculously. And so that's still like my whole central nervous system is still jangled from this whole experience. And but you know, downloading with people, like people have checked in with me about that and stuff, my friends and whatnot, and they're like, oh, your little dog, like your little baby dog was like out there in the desert, like with the coyotes and the owls and the eagles, like your little dog. And I'm like, yeah. And you know, I've only ever had big dogs. And Buffy is my first little dog, and I found her in the desert, and I had a big bias against little dogs that I just kind of inherited, you know, probably mostly from my dad. He was like, rats that bark and they're piddling all the time, and like little dogs do have a really high bite rate, like for what it is. Like they don't have a high kill rate, but they have a high bite rate, you know. And I just had a big bias against little dogs, and then I found one, and then boom, like the like little dog derangement syndrome that happens to people, like it happened to me to the extent that I'm describing to you, where like my life without her, if she wasn't recovered, what that would look like. And it's interesting though, because like other people got that, and it's not like a little dog's life getting lost in the desert has more, that's not like sadder, should it be sadder than like a big dog's life getting lost in the desert? And you know that, like I love animals. I love big dogs, you know, love animals, love the pigs, love the cows, love the chickens, I fucking love the animals, fucking lifetime vegetarian here, you know. So I'm certainly the last person to kind of like rank the relative sadness of things happening to animals, but it's like people, it was weird, like people got that, they were like, your little dog was out there, you know, because she's just so helpless. I can hear her like rustling around here. And you know, so this is kind of like the rabbit hole that sent me down, is like dogs represent like human experiments with eugenics, probably more so than any other thing that at least we're aware of, right? We have eugenicked that shit real hard for a long time. You know, we've been breeding dogs to optimize these, you know, this trait, that trait, the other trait. And I think we all kind of recognize that we have, as humans, like managed to breed these traits that now you have a dog, and now you have a breed of a dog that can do this thing better than any other animal, any other life form can do this thing, you know, whether that's like tracking or herding. My God, these working dogs, you know. And it's not just that they can do that thing. It's just that they're mentally ill about doing that thing. Like all they want to do is that thing, and they can do it better than anybody. You know, that's what we've done with dogs and with eugenics. And then for some reason for me, I had never just kind of like parlayed that same I know that, you know, and I hadn't parlayed that out into its sort of like a logical conclusion relative to little dogs, because we do just kind of put them in another category. And little dogs, but it all still like translates, like little dogs were descended from wolves too. They were all descended from wolves. And little dogs were bred specifically for companionship, except for the ones that were bred to like go into tunnels and hunt rats or whatever. You know, there's some of those too that were like like working dogs on some kind of like physical level, but they need to be little for some reason, you know. So there are those like terriers, I think, but like by and large, like little dogs were like, they, you know, they don't know how to do, like, they're not good at anything. I can tell you as a fact, like Buffy is not good at anything, nothing. Like every single thing that she could possibly have, like as a canine, like have been good at, like she's not. It got bred out of her. Like she's very fucking helpless. She can smell real good. Of course, like any animal is going to be able to smell better than we can, you know, because they specialize for that just as being canines, right? And, you know, I don't know, like her eyesight seems good, her hearing seems good, stuff like that. I mean, so she's, you know, she's got a basic setup. Like she's a canine, like she's a card carrying canine. But, yeah, being good at anything? No. Like, no, not good at walking, not good at running, not good at like eating her food, like not good at sneezing or like breathing after whipped cream, like none of these things, you know. And but then when you know, when you kind of take a step back, you're like, actually Buffy is like a world-class champion descended from a line of like kings and queens of like preeminent ability to provide companionship, and humans were the ones breeding and deciding like companionship means like I want to be in the same room with this thing, you know, and like more than even the others. Like there's a litter of puppies, like I want to be in the same room as this one, like even more than the others for some reason, like whatever those characteristics are, because companionship means different things to different people at different times. Like companionship is like such a big concept, you know. And you know, apparently with the little dogs, like people had different ideas about like what is the ideal form of companionship. Like the Pomeranian people were like, I think it's this, and I'm like, I wouldn't say that. But Buffy is like some kind of, she's, you know, I found her in the desert. Like, I don't know what the fuck she is, but like, I call her a Maltese, like by all, you know, like traits and characteristics and appearance and temperament and stuff like that. You know, she seems to be like Maltese. And certainly Maltese have like a long and storied history of being companions. They're companion dogs. They're better at being a companion than like any other fucking thing on this earth, you know. Like they're total, like there she is, you see her right there. They're that's her air tag. She's got an air tag now. Sometimes in the middle of the day I just look at my phone and like see where she is, because this whole getting lost in the desert thing, like that was it. That's never happening again. I'm a dummy for not having that. Get an air tag for your dog and your child, I don't know, whoever, get an air tag. So, you know, it's like when you know, I mean, that's like such a typically human kind of thing, is to like value or sort of put a bigger weight on like bloodhound sniffing, or like jumping really high, or like swimming in the water and like retrieving things, or hurting things, separating things, getting things back to where they're supposed to go, you know, like action things, like action dog things, you know. And then little dogs with the companionship were like, you can't do anything. It's like, the level of companionship, with whatever that means and doesn't mean, is it's like insane. Like it's insane. And it's like interesting to me, like some of the discussions I've had with friends in the wake of this Buffy getting lost and found thing. I've had a couple that are like, I'm not even a dog person, and like now for whatever reason, XYZ, I have like a little dog in my life, or I have little dogs in my life, like people that they don't even want an animal, like let alone a dog, you know. And they're like, it's different. It's crazy. It's crazy different. Like they get under your skin. And so this is the reason that my dad calls Buffy the apex predator. Like that's his nickname for her. I mean, for one thing, I'm a lifelong vegetarian vegan. I never in my life would like, I didn't even want to look at meat, and I certainly wouldn't touch it. And like, if I made a lunch run for coworkers and they wanted some meat, I was like, I'll get you something vegetarian, but I'm sorry, that probably sounds like dickish to you, but I was like, I don't want to trade my money for, or even your money for like a dead animal. Like I've been like all the way over there, you know, and I've just negotiated things as best I could. Guess what I did this morning for Buffy's breakfast? I fucking stood in the kitchen with some scissors and I cut up some grilled chicken for her, because she's picky. That's the only thing that she'll eat. Like I mixed it with her other food. Like, this is what I do. This is why my dad calls her the apex predator. because I'm an apex predator at the top of the food chain. Like, as a human, I know you don't think that as a vegetarian, but anyway, here I am. I mean, I'm such an apex predator that I have a choice to like eat meat or not eat meat, right? You know, you're like at the apex when you even have that choice, right? And I choose not to. And little bro here like enters my life, and then I'm like cutting up chicken in in the kitchen. That's the level of like derangement syndrome that happens with these little dogs. You know, not to take anything away from big dogs, but it's like, if you haven't had one, and I never had one, and I never would have, like, I would have never gone out and got a little dog, you know, it's crazy. Like, I will like die for her. Like, people are like, oh my God, you spoil her. And I'm like, if I could figure out a better way to spoil her, like, if I could like co-sign on a loan for her or something, I would. I'm going to keep grinding till my dog has a better life than every billionaire on the planet. I'm like massively codependent. And she's kind of like a cat. Like, she's actually not even that into me, but that's her special brand of companionship, which as a undiagnosed, like, avoidant attachment type person, I actually really need that too. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, you know, something like that floated through my mind. But then there was this other subject that was kind of floating through my mind that was like marriage, like what I think about marriage. And I just kind of, you know, I'm doing things throughout the day, and I'm like having this little internal dialogue, and I'm kind of like, you know, like I dislike that we have sort of, well, the cultural Marxism with all these like very, very big, like high profile, like media, like voice pieces that are essentially like state funded media, you know, have like really done a number on the sort of like American dream and like American vision, constantly attacking the nuclear family unit, which I think we all get that can be problematic. Like, you can't just like do a nuclear family and then like, okay, all done. Like, you actually have to like do a whole bunch of stuff to like make that work, you know. But constantly attacking the nuclear family, constantly attacking the institution of marriage, constantly attacking the institution or the practice of like monogamy, like committed monogamy. Like, that's one of the things that Jordan Peterson came out swinging like really big, you know, and like a lot of like created a signal that a lot of like men were attracted to this signal because it presented like such a relief, you know, such a contrast from the other kind of shit that like the hookup culture that's been broadcast to everybody, which is cultural Marxism, you know, which is like, forge yourself into the kind of man that women compete for, and they're throwing their panties at you. Like, grind until you are that guy, and then choose one woman, and then lock yourself in the fucking pressure cooker that's called marriage and make it work, because that's the biggest spiritual advantage that you'll ever have. And that's like what we're here to do. Like, this is like Jordan Peterson's kind of like messaging some of it, you know, which I think in contrasted by the complete dysphoria of hookup culture, which is sort of followed on feminism, which is sort of followed on the birth control pill, you know, and which is sort of followed on women's right to vote. See how these things have like slippery slope. You know, that represented like some like sanity in otherwise like a completely chaotic, like meaningless. And it's like, sure, everybody likes to have fun, you know, certainly men like to have fun, you know, and men had to work way harder to like see a pair of titties when women were still kind of like in a traditionally minded place. But you cultural Marxism women out of that, which that's, you know, that's a gray zone too. Like, I don't think I would like teleport necessarily back in time to a time where women this way, you know, maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't in some levels. Like, I'd really have to think about that, you know, I'd really have to think about that. But, you know, when men don't have to work hard to like see a pair of titties, let alone like just like go meet somebody and like have sex, and like hookup culture's in full swing, and everybody's supposed to just be like enjoying free love, and that's just like what people are doing. Okay, like, sounds good. Like, then there's a certain like ennui, you know, and sort of like spiritual nihilism, and like, well, like, what is the point? Like, and this is what Jordan Peterson spoke to too. He's like, Like, nothing's gonna make you feel good, actually good, like long term. Nothing's gonna actually make you feel good except for shouldering as much responsibility as you can. That's like in alignment with who you are, you know? Like, not abdicating responsibility, but shouldering responsibility. And it's so weird that that guy was like a lightning rod for like feminists were like really mad about him, and people were like, he's transphobe. And you know, like, I don't think I need to go into that. That's just, again, like the mechanism of cultural Marxism and cancel culture being like kicking a beehive, and they're like, you know. I mean, he had some good shit to say. Also, I do have to qualify that Jordan Peterson like has a hard time. He just like keeps relapsing on benzos or whatever, and he kind of cucked for the like vaccine narrative up in Canada, and then he like recanted that, and he's, you know, that guy. I mean, I'm not using that guy as a North Star. But damn, he's had some, you know, he's a clinician, like he's had some incredible observations and things to say, you know. So yeah, I kind of like had this like weird like rambling sort of like dialogue going on while I'm doing other things about like what do I think about the institution of marriage? Because I mean, one thing that you have to give the Mormons, and like I used to work for a company for a number of years that was like all Mormon, like based up in Mormon country. This is like fire season fueling, right? And I was like the only not Mormon person that worked for the company. And they kind of had to get used to me, and I kind of like, I almost like wasn't able to get a job there, but they were just really desperate, because that's what happens with wildland like federal contracting, thank God. You know, I have family that's Mormon, and in fact, like 90% of, not 90% of my family is Mormon. The only offshoots of my family, the minority of my family offshoots that are Mormon, have like proliferated much more than the other offshoots because they're Mormon, and because proliferating, have a lot of children, and like they all have kids and all that stuff is like, you know, so that like a small one shoot of the family tree is like, you know, turning into a huge bush because they're Mormon, you know. But I mean, one thing that you got to give the Mormons is that they have like a set of sort of first principles for their stuff that's like growing a very vibrant, and I'm going to say like dominant societal presence, you know. Like they're as a group like very wealthy, they like have lots of people, they're very attractive. Like Mormons are just like crazy hot, you know, like they got that going on. Like, why are they so hot, you know? It's like, what a fucking psyop. Like, you hear about this weird thing like, you're gonna get a planet when you die, you gotta wear special underwear. Like, one of my best friends in high school was Mormon, and was like instructed not to hang out with me by his mother, but you know, and then the whole family's together forever. Like, I don't know, like I don't even know, because as a non-Mormon, you're not allowed to know all the things. Apparently there's something like weird kind of like elder types like inspecting the bride before the wedding in a way that seems creepy. I mean, there's definitely, for a while there, before Reddit got super co-opted by the libtards, like there was like a page on Reddit that was interesting. It was called Exmo. It was like / you know, Exmo. And it was like people that have left the Mormon church, like dishing on all the stuff that they weren't supposed to talk about and that they found personally problematic. And it's like, it's super culty. Of course it's super culty. Is it more or less culty than any other religion? Maybe. I mean, like, the little decode for me, like considering religions, is like, how much are they fucking children? Like, how much pedophilia is like literally baked into the religion, you know? Like, that's all I care about. I'm not trying to join a religion, but I'm just saying, like, when I look at religions, that's what I look at, you know? Mormons, I'm sorry, it's real bad. It's like literally from like the origin story of Joseph Smith is like pedophilia, you know? And then Muslims are not doing good there. Judaism, not doing good there. The whole, like, you know, like routine male circumcision and then like sucking the blood with a rabbi. It's like, you know, you learn these, you're like, oh my God, you know? Hinduism, you know, I can't say much about like the Hindu faith. I mean, that's a really old continent, a really old faith. It's like Eastern faith typically is like contributed some, such beautiful things, to the dialogue, to the global dialogue. So I can't really speak to Hinduism, but it seems like the Indian continent itself is like fraught with just like horrible, like rapey stuff. So I don't really know where the connection is there. Like even Tibetan Buddhism, or like Buddhism, like there was a weird thing that came out like a couple years ago where the Dalai Lama or something, I don't know, there's been like a little bit of churn around the Dalai Lama, but he like had like a young acolyte or something like suck his tongue, and everybody was like, that's fucked up. And some people were like, no, you don't get it, that's a thing in Buddhism. And other people were like, I don't care if that's a thing, like don't, Christianity to me is the least child raping religion that I've encountered. I'm not Christian. It certainly, I mean, the Catholic Church, that's what I forgot to mention. Like obviously like the Catholic Church is like wholesale, like industrialized, like child abuse, but like Christianity, I'm sure it's rife with child abuse, but like it doesn't seem to be like actually baked into it, so yeah, Mormons, like, are they a cult more or less? Like, yeah, it all is, am I involved in some cults? Probably. Like, I'm like into Bitcoin, I'm into like barbell, like I'm like really culty about the things I'm into, so like whatever. I'm not casting stones right now, except for the predation upon children. I'm definitely casting some stones there, but if like religion and like the institution of marriage have generally been kind of like like that those have been overlap, there, where on the other side, like the cultural Marxism, which goes by many faces and many names, that's the hookup culture, that's like the degeneracy, that's like free love, I'm sorry, free love is never going to make sense for women. Like, that's where we get these feminists that are like, I've had 17 abortions, and it's like horrifying. That's where we get things like a dude transitioning to be a woman and actually getting, like a uterus implant so that he can try to get pregnant, so that he can have an abortion. Like that's like that's that kind of slippery slope, So yeah, there's been like the religious right by like whatever definition, and then the sort of like onslaught of like cultural Marxism or progressivism or liberalism, on the other side, in terms of like literally what we should do about marriage and companionship and like mating and family, and yeah, this thought kind of occurred to me where I'm like, I would call myself a libertarian. Like, I wouldn't call myself anything really, but I would say it would be kind of safe to say I feel kind of libertarian-y. But I definitely trend more to like conservative values. So I don't think that young people should be like, your 20s are for having fun, and then maybe start thinking about it being an adult like in your 30s. Like I think that's like disenfranchised a lot of people, and it may have disenfranchised me. Like, I'm not really sure. I definitely like grew up and came of age and was in college and stuff during the peak sort of like Melissa Etheridge, like like everybody's like bisexual, at least like everybody's declaring lesbianism, like all of that kind of time. I never declared lesbianism or bisexuality. Like, I always actually knew there's kind of a big thing I want with sex. There's like one gender that I can get that with, but in terms of like, there was also this big thing that was like, there's kind of a lot of pressure put on people to like not have children because of like the narrative about overpopulation and like the resources being sucked up by like first world babies versus third world babies. Like, all these kinds of things are like part of this I mean, they may have been offered at some level or in some sense, like in good faith, you know. I can't like debunk all of them, and nor do I want to. I mean, it's all like interesting angles, but it's like if you want to kind of like castrate an entire couple generations, or like increasingly more and more, so that they don't do the thing that like creates society. You know, they don't do the thing, they don't like grow up and like get married and have to like get a job to see some titties or like whatever guys had to do, you know. And like women don't want to have children, and they're like not only availing themselves of birth control, but they're like down to have 17 abortions or a dozen abortions or whatever. I mean, I kind of had an interesting discussion with one of my friends. It was just fun and games, like a couple months ago. And we were asking each other, we've known each other a long time. We were asking each other, like, would you date somebody? Okay, so like they're a total 10, but this, you know, we were kind of like probing each other's sort of like deal makers and deal breakers, right? And he was funny. He asked me, he's kind of like a big like clothing aficionado. Like he like dresses real sharp. And he was like, okay, he's a 10, but he wears Crocs and sweatpants all the time. And I was like, subscribe, like, yes. I mean, if he's a 10 and he wears Crocs and sweatpants all the time, like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, sounds like he's ready to work out to me, you know? And my friend was like, really? So this was more sort of about his values than my values, you know? He was like, really? But I was like, I had a couple different ones, but I was like, okay, she's a 10, but she's had an abortion. And he was like, yeah, I probably dated women that had abortions. I was like, okay, so she's a 10, but she had 2 abortions. And he was like, sure. And I was like, okay, she's a 10, but she had 5 abortions. And he was like, and he definitely like identifies more like liberal and more progressive than I do. Like it should just be, it's a woman's right to choose, you know? And no, somehow nobody ever talks about like IUDs and all of this, you know? Like I have a very positive experience with IUD. Like just, I'm like, why are we even like arguing about abortion? Just get an IUD. But anyway, nobody wants to talk about that. So, anyway, so I was like, she's a 10, but she's had 5 abortions. And he was like, like he didn't want to say yes, but he didn't want to say no, you know? So that's kind of interesting, right? So, you know, like this, all these kinds of influences that cause young people to believe that like they're somehow like shortchanging themselves if they grow up, get married, start a family, do the thing, you know, which is how like people like Jordan Peterson kind of represented like the contrasting perspective. Like what the fuck else are you going to do when you're 65, you know? Like, have you thought this through? And I haven't really like attacks on the nuclear family like haven't sat well with me over the years. Like what was it, the Atlantic, that it was like the Atlantic's full-time job there for a while to like attack the nuclear family. And yeah, you know, I just happen to be somebody who's had a very, very, very positive experience with my nuclear family. Like I don't know who I'd be, and I wouldn't want to be in the world without the family that's been my nuclear family. Like they're my everything. Like they're my building block. I'm not talking like I don't have a family of my own. I'm talking about my family of origin, you know, and we're very close. And so, you know, I definitely see that in the absence of a focus on the nuclear family, then the kind of like state can step in, because that's what's been going on anyway, you know, like the state is your family. And it sounds like crazy, like old school communist stuff, like, oh, we would never fall for that again. But it's like, that's communism, you know what I mean? Like there's been lots of like communism-y things like going on, you know, with the Marxist cultural influence. So it's like interesting. Like I think it would be better for young people to like date, but like abstain from sex and like meet the right person and then like make a real commitment and then like get married and start a family. Like I think that would be better. Like if I had a kid, like I think that's what I would hope for. But at the same time, I kind of feel like if I had a kid, they'd be just as fucking weird as me. And I'm not sure that thing ever worked for me either. Like I don't feel sad to like not be married and like have a family right now. Like I feel like if we were all back in the olden times, like in a medieval setting or something like that, you know, like I would be like the the witchy type person who lives like off in a hermitage, like off in the forest, and has an animal familiar, and people come to me for love spells, and I try to like talk them out of that, because I'm like, that, like, you don't want somebody who doesn't want you, like, why don't you just work on yourself or something. Like, I would be like that person. Like, I don't think I would be like, it doesn't feel to me like I've ever been sort of supposed to be in the normal, like, maid and mother crone cycle. Like, there's, feminine archetypes, and I'm sure I'm sure there's a feminine archetype that matches me, but just the sort of like typical feminine life cycle, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that was, if I would have been more like raised in a society or a religion or something like that, or at a time that like shoehorned me into that more. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would be happier, or if I would be more lonely or less lonely. I don't know, it's tough to say. But I will say that I insisted every Halloween when I was a child on being a bride. Like, all I ever dreamed about was being a bride, and my mom made me this like amazing wedding dress Halloween costume. And then she would alter it and make it bigger, like, as I got older. And I fucking insisted on the whole thing. Like, I wanted a veil, I wanted little white gloves. And I would go around trick-or-treating with my brother, who was usually some kind of like sci-fi, like action figure type guy, in my wedding dress. And every year my mom would ask me, what do you want to be for Halloween? And I was like, a bride. That's it. Like, I wanted to be a bride until I was too old to be caring about Halloween. I don't really remember how I stopped caring, but just I never wanted to be like a witch or anything else. I wanted to be a bride, so there's that. And then oddly enough, it, like, for my birthday or Christmas, I always wanted like a cash register. And like, I remember when I was really young, for Christmas, my parents got me a toy cash register, and I threw that shit across the room. I was furious with them, because I was like, do you think I'm a little baby? Like, I asked for a motherfucking cash register. He got me this toy. It was like Fisher Price, my first cash register. Like, I was like, I want a real fucking cash register. So I want to be a bride at Halloween, and I wanted a real cash register for Christmas. Like, whatever that is, But I mean, I can definitely see, like, growing up and starting to date and stuff like that. Like, I was geared to meet a guy and settle down. My circumstances weren't, like, I kind of wonder if I like grew up in a different place or a different time or something, like if that just would have happened and it would have just been fine. I don't know. I grew up on the Navajo reservation, and so like right off the bat, I'm like racially different. I grew up in like a super like book nerdy type of family, in a place where people like super aren't book nerdy, and like there's just differences, and like I dated guys, but like I wasn't feeling like a full match, Sometimes it's crazy, like, I feel like there's, even just in the US generally with men, there's a sort of like anti-intellectualism. It's like kind of seen as like faggy or like progressive or lefty or something to be like really very intellectual. And so all the guys on the right are kind of like not that, But it seems like in Europe, they don't really have that. And like sometimes I meet European men or like men from Europe, and I just like, oh my God, I just love it so much. I just feel like they're very masculine in some cases, but we can also just like freely talk about ideas, and they're very well read and they're very literate. And like, I love that so much. And I don't often have that experience with American males. And I certainly didn't have that experience like where I grew up, And then I went to college in a town that was like very, very, very progressive. Like, they invented like drinking the lib-parted Kool-Aid before anyone else was even doing it. And guys being like allies to feminism and stuff like that, where I was sort of like, I don't know, like it just kind of fell off to me. And now it's gotten full blown. Like I think they're still wearing masks there as far as I know. So, I don't know, like my burgeoning feminine desire to like play house, like meet a man and settle down and be a bride and be a wife and maybe be a mother. I will say this, like, I never wanted baby dolls. I was kind of averse to them. I didn't want baby dolls. I wanted stuffed animals of like every species, like every kind of stuffed animal. I didn't want baby dolls. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what that means for me, but yeah. It's tough to say, but relative to like, I think the one thing that we can all agree on is like loneliness is like the human epidemic, except for like broken money. Okay, like we got the broken money thing, that's obviously over there, but like loneliness, like for whatever reason, you know, like well intended or poorly intended or whatever it was, like it's a fact. And the digital and technological revolution has been a big part of this too, where, we're never bored enough to go like drive to the next farmhouse over and bring a pie and go hang out with them and play cards like people used to do. Like we're never bored enough to do anything because we can just be entertained there right in our cubicle or whatever. So like, yeah, whatever the case is, like we have systematically dismantled like every kind of normal opportunity and institution that stopped us from being lonely. And so we have like the loneliest people ever in the world. Like we're so fucking lonely. It's like grindingly lonely. And being lonely doesn't mean that you're alone. Like you can be very, very lonely, like with other people. And being not lonely doesn't mean that you're with other people. Like you can be very not lonely, alone. Helps if you have a dog. I think often about the connections between addiction and loneliness. My boyfriend who is dead, like I call him my dead boyfriend. I guess that makes sense. He's not really my ex-boyfriend. He's my dead boyfriend. He struggled with addiction, and we were together for years. And he, something that really jumped out at me is like he reported being so crushingly lonely. Like that was like his shame and loneliness were like his kind of like dominant experiences of life, except mitigated by certain kinds of other things that like brought the sunshine in, and or drugs or whatever. Like he emphasized it so much that, and at the same time, interestingly enough, like he was like so, as a person, like psychologically and emotionally, like he was like so poorly prepared to self-soothe in any way, like to like withstand loneliness. Like some of us are like camels crossing the desert with loneliness, or like same shit, different day, whatever, like there's people that are like better prepared to like deal with it. And that's where self-soothing comes in. There's like a lot of different ways you can self-soothe, and hey, it's like, turns out it's like super valuable process so that you're not like spinning out all kinds of like haphazard new like thought creations out into the world out of your sheer like emotional desperation, But yeah, his experience of his life had been one of such crushing loneliness. And he was a super smart guy. I mean, he could speak to this, like, he could really like articulate like what his experiences through life had been and were. And I mean, it was so much so that I wished I could like go back in time and just like extend my presence like back, and not that my presence turned out to be the thing that moved the needle for him either, Well, in fact, it might have been like a negative thing ultimately, I don't know. But I just wished that he could have never been lonely like that, I wish that there was something that I could have done about that. Like it's a hard thing to consider, and I think it's probably a relevant thing to consider, because like if you're watching this video, like there's reasons that we turn to forms of like discourse like this, there's a reason I'm sitting here at my house like doing this video, like tell me that all the societal institutions for connecting with others have like collapsed without telling me. Hi. That's what I'm doing. Loneliness is crushing. Loneliness is epidemic. But then on the other side of that, you have, the question of companionship. And maybe that's easier for other people. I don't know. Like maybe some people are like, oh, cool, companionship. All right, great. I've always been like almost more prickly about companionship than I'm like, I know how to negotiate loneliness. I don't necessarily know how to negotiate companionship, right? Um, I've never been like diagnosed, right, as a avoidant attachment type person. And I'm not like gay for that whole perspective, like attachment theory, but I think it's so profound. You know, I don't know if you've looked into it, but like some people, you know, because of our like childhood and our like family of origin and everything, like all the stuff we went through, like some, you know, ideally we would have like secure attachment styles where we, you know, I can have me and I can have you too. Like I can have my personal boundaries and my preferences and I can express those to you. And I don't expect that to be a problem for you. And if it is a problem for you, then I can negotiate that too. But like, that's how you get included in my life. And I expect you to have your preferences and to like communicate your boundaries. And then we can like have a dialogue and like negotiate that. And then we can have companionship, you know, like that's like ideally like a person who's able to securely attach to others. And then you have anxious attachment types where they're like, please, 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 please like me, you know, please like me, please hang out with me, please like me. But then there's kind of like a whiplash to that. Like whatever the thing is that's way out front with human psychology, there's always like the opposite is like in the back, like along for the ride, you know? So they're going to like, you know, get really neurotic about like what it seems like you did that might have like been a problem or, you know, like whatever kind of way that's going to play out. So then on the other side, like avoidant attachments, which probably I am, you know, I mean, I just think I'm normal. Don't we all? Like, I'm probably like an avoidant attachment type person. So I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Like, get off me. Like, I'm claustrophobic. Like, I'm like horribly claustrophobic, you know? And, like my love language is people just like ignoring me, like just doing their thing and ignoring me. And I'm like, love that. And then I do my thing and I ignore you and then all done. Like, that's it. That's how we hang out. You know, and I've gotten a little bit better. Like I've gotten better, but then the, you know, the whiplash of that for like avoidant attachment type people is that we're actually so codependent and like soupy and like helpless and like fragile on the inside. We're like so squishy on the inside and like our feelings actually do get like so fucking hurt. That's like, that's oh my god, we're like heartbroken that like you didn't invite us to the party that we didn't even want to go to, and like if we did go we would have Irish goodbye your ass. And it's like, you know, just like ideally we would all be securely attached and we'd be like, oh well, like I felt this way when that happened, like how did you feel? Like that shit ain't happening for most of us, you know what I mean? So for me, let's just recap here. Thanks to feminism and cultural Marxism, I was like sort of like fucked out of like what would have normally, and location, like where we lived, okay, like circumstances like that, like I was sort of like fucked out of what would have normally probably been my natural trajectory and progression through probably getting married and starting a family, and then by now I would have grandkids or something like that, you know. Also, like I said, it is a lot easier for me to see myself as like the witch hermit off in the forest, like refusing to give people love spells, than it is to see myself as like one of the normal ladies doing the normal thing. Now, is that the chicken or the egg? You know? I think that I've always been weird. I'm going to put that out there. I think I've always been pretty different, you know? So there is that. I'm not saying I'm like unlovable or like impossible love or something. Like probably could have worked out with somebody, but just like the chances weren't high for me lining up with that or whatever, you know. I don't know. And then in terms of largely coping with this by having a little dog, which I do, this is a slam dunk. And I almost want to say, like, if you're an avoidant attachment type person, or you think you might be, like, step 1 is like do some reading about it. Step 2, get a dog. Step 3, you're all done. Problem solved. Like, that's how big of a deal my dog is for me. And like whether or not it's healthy or smart to like use another being as like that much of a crush that like literally the entire like it like my like emotional and mental health is like resting on this like tiny animal who weighs 7 pounds like that. That is the state. um it's funny, I tried to do a thing like I went to the Bitcoin conference this past May in Vegas, and I knew that I was going to be having Buffy babysat later on in the season for like work related stuff, which was like an experiment for me, which failed as per Lost in the Desert. You know, like that's a whole nother video. But the experiment was to go to the Bitcoin conference without her. I'm not accustomed to like doing things and going places without her. And she's so small that I'm able, luckily, to pull that off. And it, you know, I know that I'm super codependent on her. Like I can actually feel, I don't think this is crazy. Like I think it's possible to actually feel like the specter of like overwhelming human race loneliness that's like, it's killing people. It's like, it's killing people. It killed my boyfriend, you know? Like it kills everybody, like with addiction, like everybody like trying to cope, like everybody doing crazy stuff. Like, oh my gosh, it's killing people. Like we're so fucking lonely, you know? And it's like, I can feel it. Like I can like hear it patrolling around, but it's almost like my little dog is this like fucking crucifix, you know? Like it can't get to me. I'm like, thou shalt not pass. You know, like you have no power here, that little dog. I wish she would come up. I would like hold her. I would like brandish her, and she's just like, oh, you know, like limp. Like that's what I don't even know how this sounds. I'm being totally honest. Like that's how it feels to me to have this little dog. And whatever it is, whatever did or did not work out for me, or like work out, you know, in alignment with like who I sort of like actually am or whatever, like it means a lot to me to have this little dog. But anyway, I had her babysat. Very unusual experience for me for the Bitcoin conference. And it's like, it was so awful. I made the best of it. I ended up making some friends. I ended up like getting my shit together and kind of acting normal and stuff. And I knew I was going to see her soon. But like every time I got back to my hotel room at the Venetian and she wasn't there, you know, because I travel with her. Like it's been 11 years, you know, that I'm like, she's just there. She's just there. You know, I'd get back to my hotel room and I was like, I'm just gonna fucking walk into a hotel room and try to like, what? Sleep? Like what? It was so dysphoric. It was so dysphoric. Like I'm so actually not like used to functioning that way, you know? So I was like FaceTiming with her. I was like, that's crazy. Like, this is what everybody else's life is like. I know that I'm unusual, you know, and I've had to do some crazy heroics to like keep my dog with me for all the stuff that we do, all the stuff that I have to do because I need money, because I need Bitcoin, you know, like all of that. But it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how fucking crazy it has to get for like the things I got to do to like make sure that she's with me, or like how many companies I have to jump or whatever. It's just like that feeling of walking into the hotel room and she wasn't there. I was like, this is like hell. This is like a living hell. And it's like totally, it's like a super luxurious room at the Venetian. Like it should be totally fine. And there's some ways where I was like, you know, at the airport and stuff, I was like, well, it's kind of easier to travel without her. But it was awful, you know, it was awful. And I have, you know, there's going to be an expiration date on this experiment one way or the other, unless I die before her or we die on the same day, which that'd be great, you know, but it's probably not likely. Like I'm pretty fucking healthy, you know. Dogs don't live as long as humans, you know. Yeah, the specter of like what my life would have looked like and how impoverished that would have been if she had never been recovered from the desert is like unimaginable. It's imaginable. That's why it's unimaginable. But like, I wouldn't want it to happen like that. I don't want it to happen at all. I wouldn't want it to happen like that. But it's, you know, it's likely going to happen sometime. And my plan is not to get another dog. Like my plan is just like cry myself to sleep like every fucking night for the rest of my life. Like that's my plan, you know? And then as far as like human relationships, you know, I'm so blessed. Like I have some really, really, really incredible human relationships. More so than I ever have had in my life. And like with my family, like moving so much all the time and like everything like just changing. Like had to like move and reinvent myself and reinvent careers and reinvent industries and like learn new occupations. And I've just, you know, whether I had to or I just did or like whatever my weird like karma has been like not continuity, you know? So God, I get a lot, like, first of all, my nuclear family, you know, like, specifically my brother is just like massively like stabilizing for me. And when people don't have that with a sibling or they have siblings and they're not close, that's always crazy to me. I'm like, that sucks. Cause that's the only other person that actually like experienced your, origin story, you know? Like, that sucks to not be able to like download about that. I actually have like a handful of really good girlfriends, and that's something I always struggled with, and it's like incredibly rewarding. I have a handful of really good guy friends. I have a handful of really great creative collaborators, you know? So it's like I'm set up better than I ever have been in my whole life for companionship, regardless of all the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Like I'm in a really, really good position, you know? And so I feel blessed, and yay, that's great. And my dog survived and she was found in the desert. And so, you know, like basically I'm sitting here and everything's good and I just had a barbell workout and it's all fine. But I just kind of had these thoughts running through my head that at one point seemed kind of like what it's like to have a little dog. Is that a YouTube talk, you know? And the other side is like what I think about marriage. And I'm sort of like, in this like super highly intellectual way, I'm kind of like, I guess maybe I wish that had happened for me. And then this other way, I'm like, like, I don't want, like, I'm so happy with my life, like the way it is, you know, the way it is. And then on another level too, it's like all of it is just so kind of dysphoric, because I think that we all have a lot more PTSD from the like cognitive warfare of like the hits that we've taken that aren't even, I mean, at least in like kinetic warfare, like World War II or something, like the Blitz, you know, it was like if a building got struck and there was people in there that died but other ones didn't, then they would be like, I'm traumatized because I was in a building that got struck by a missile or whatever. Like, you would just know that. But I feel like we've been in an information warfare and cognitive warfare state for a while now, where like we don't even really understand the hits that we've been taking, and we're kind of like, I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine. Yeah. I don't know. You know, we don't have much to compare it to, because everything that everybody used to compare things to, I kind of got like deconstructed, like systematically, you know? And then here we are, and we're like incredibly companionship seeking missiles ourselves, you know? And then we're like incredibly prickly about how it is that we're able to like feel that or receive that or like want that or need that or whatever. So like that's the discussion. It didn't, if there's some kind of like way to bring that all together, like epiphany, like I haven't had it yet, you know? I haven't had it yet. But it seemed kind of in the forefront of my consciousness enough to at least like try to kind of like puke it out and like see what happened. And sometimes I don't really get the point of my own discussions until I watch it later. And then I'm like, oh, and then the next obvious thing, but like, you know, this is like my process, you know, this is my process. And just like my lifting videos, where if I know that I'm going to share that with the internet, it like makes me get that rep, you know. It's like, this is kind of the same thing where like, yeah, I am just here at my house and I haven't gone back to work yet. I'm going to go back to work on like the 14th, you know, for my 2 weeks on, and I could just do this with my camera, but like there's something about knowing that I'm going to upload it to YouTube and have a like collective, like collaborative experience with other people, kind of like gets the juices flowing, you know? So anyway, if you made it this long, as usual, if you made it this long, I appreciate it. And that's all I got. Okay, bye.